Your book on
Yeah, Fidencio.
Nino Fidencio, this is book number
3.
Oh, okay.
The third one is the medicinal plants of the borderlands. You haven't seen that?
No.
Oh man, that one. This is the only. You know, you can find books on medicinal plants in English and in Spanish, but there's no translation.
Right.
But for someone who's doing work on the border, they have to go to all this trouble.
I know, and the Spanish word is often completely different.
That's right. Well, I published last year, 2 years ago.
And then what they call it on the border could be
It's different.
than,
That's
than
right.
the English and the Spanish.
Well, you need to look for my book. It's a treasure trove. It has the 600. It represents 40 years of my research on the border with curanderos and curanderas from San Diego all the way to Brownsville, Matamoros. Collecting the plants that they use, the actual plants they use for healing, and English and Spanish translation.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's about the only work
It's the
out
only
there
one.
like-
No, it's the
like
only
that.
one. It's the only one. The only one. Yeah.
Well, maybe you should introduce yourself,
I'm-
to our audience a little bit. And,
Okay.
tell us about yourself.
Well,
I know a little bit about
I'm
you.
a humble guy, but I can tell you that my name is Tony Zavaleta. I'm a Brownsville native. I went to high school and I went to community college in Brownsville. I transferred to the University of Texas in Austin, which was the only University of Texas. And I got a PhD in anthropology in 1976. And since then, I've been, I came back to Brownsville to work at Texas Southmost College, now UT Brownsville, where I've been for the last 38 years. And really, I've had the border has been my playground. For the last 40 years, I've been the anthropologist on the border. I study, I'm a medical anthropologist, and so
And,
I study.
I imagine you pretty much had it to yourself.
I had it
right?
to myself.
Yeah, no, very unusual for anybody else to take an interest.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's who I am and what I do. I teach anthropology. I research. I'm an old guy now. I'm an old man, but I've for example, the Nino Fidencio. I've studied him for 30 years.
30 years.
30 years.
There's been a lot
I'm
of.
so well known. I'm a member of the city council here in Espinazo. Yeah, I've been put in jail in Espinazo. I didn't do anything, but they put me in jail because they could. I was on the wrong, it's Mexico after all. So I happened to be on the wrong political side, the wrong side of the politics, and so the other side threw me in jail for a couple of days.
I think we're here on the north side of the border. We're learning those Mexican ways too.
That's right.
On the wrong side of politics.
If you're on the wrong side of the politics, you better be careful.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't, like, say, today, this week, ordinarily I would be in Espinazo for the fiesta of the Nino Fidencio, but the highways are just too treacherous, too dangerous, and I can't take a chance, I have a 5-year-old son.
I should be able to. I should go more myself and take more chances. All my kids are grown,
Well,
so.
it's
And
not worth it.
well.
You gotta be
But if I
careful.
had a 5-year-old son, boy, you got someone to live for. Someone to
I have a
raise.
45-year-old son, and a 5-year-old son, different mothers. But I don't want anything. If anything happens to me, I want to see.
Well, let's hope so.
That's right. Well, let's hope so. Is right. I want to see my son grow up, my 5-year-old son, like I saw the other ones grow up.
Right. So, you got your degree in medical. I'll just go over your propers here. You got your degree in medical anthropology.
I got my degree in anthropology because there was no such thing as medical anthropology when I went through the program. But the courses that I took, if you took them today, you'd be in medical anthropology.
Oh, okay.
So I refer to myself.
Actually,
but
I never heard of it before.
oh yeah, oh no, it's a field in anthropology, but it's relatively new. Only been around about 25 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And medical anthropologists study medicinal plants, healing, other kinds of issues that are quasi-medical and cultural.
Yeah, for instance, digressing a little bit, they dug up some mummies, and they found that just recently, they found that, yes, they did have cardiovascular disease.
I saw that.
Of course, I had a caveat with that. The only people that got mummified were rich people.
That's right. They
which
said
had
that.
a totally different diet than
Well,
poor people.
and they said that in the article that I read. They pointed that out. Yeah, that's right.
Right, so there's all sorts of issues like that.
Now, scholars often would have us believe that we're different from those of the past. That's not necessarily true. We don't know that that's true.
We've gotten bigger.
We've gotten bigger.
Yeah. We weigh a whole lot more.
We eat more. That's right.
We have processed foods, all sorts of things.
That's right.
But essentially, we're the same genetics.
That's right.
Very little change in 10,000 years.
That's right. Well, when and if everything falls apart, the first ones to go will be you and me. And people, the ones that will survive will be the ones who have the somatic body and nutritional needs of early man. Little 100-pound wonders. The big guys won't be able to support ourselves.
But I always told my kids, look, you see old men, but you don't see many fat old men.
That's right.
So enjoy me while you can. And,
There you go.
And 'cause I can't guarantee I'll be around that.
That's right.
But no, it's a fascinating thing, medical anthropology, and you're in a unique position here, where you have people with basically the same genetics, north of the border as south of the border,
Yeah.
but different in so many respects, different medically and different culturally and.
Well, they're gene pools, and so.
There's like little gene pools, different gene pools spread all over Mexico.
Right, and northern Mexico in the valley.
Yeah.
So we're not really the same because there are gene pools, and those gene pools are specific. For example, one particular gene pool, and I'm a part of that. Diabetes is endemic. They're all diabetics. I'm a diabetic. Whereas other gene pools don't have that. They might have arterial disease or no disease at all.
The desert Native Americans are especially vulnerable to that
Yes.
because they cannot take the modern American processed food.
Yeah.
That's
That's right.
sugary refined
That's right. Flour. That's right.
But then the ones towards the southern part of Mexico are not as vulnerable to that.
Oh, it's all diet. It's a combination of the environment and it's nurture and nature. So everybody's got the genetic propensity, I believe, to be diabetic if they have their own diet. And so then over time, they're gonna be. Come on, Mike, come over here. This is my son Michael. Here's the reason I'm not in Espinazo today, because I don't want to have a couple of AK bullets in my brain and not be able to support my son.
Oh, I'm sure they'd give you more than that.
Yeah, probably more. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe they just take my truck away and let me go. Who knows? I don't want to find out the hard way.
You never know. You never know. I've covered Riders of the Rio Grande. We've covered Mexico in a lot of ways. I'm sure you've noticed, almost every story has an amazing twist.
Almost every story has it.
There's always something unexpected coming up. Kind of darkly tragic comic many times.
Yeah.
So, let's get into Nino. Then you went on to school. I know you have a PhD.
Yeah. UT Austin.
What's that?
Anthropology.
Anthropology. Okay. And then you've been working here as a professor and.
I've been a professor and administrator at UTB for the last and TSC for the last 38 years. Right now, I've retired from the administration. I retired as provost. I've been a dean, a vice president, provost. I retired back to the faculty, so now I'm a full-time faculty. I'm a professor of anthropology. And an exciting time when we're about to join UTB and UTPA into a single institution with a medical school. I might get to see a couple of years. I mean, I'm not a young man, so I'm lucky. I'm fortunate that I can retire anytime. I can retire today. I'm going Monday to retire. But I enjoy my students too much. I enjoy what I'm doing. And now with this new university being created, I'd like to stick around a few years and see what that's going to bring. Especially as we combine. It's going to be interesting. We're going to combine anthropology at UTPA and UT Brownsville. And we could, who knows? We could create some sort of border powerhouse, border studies. I direct the Center for Border Studies at UT Brownsville.
So, before we get into Nino Fidencio, let me ask you, you've worked with curanderos and healers and shamans all along the border?
All along the border.
Yeah.
Throughout Mexico.
Native Americans,
also.
Apaches,
Yes.
Apaches.
Yep. Navajos. Yep.
Okay.
Sure have. Pueblos. Yep. For many, many years.
Okay, so you have a good overview of what's going on.
I think so.
Yeah, or as much as anyone can
I think
really
so.
understand something that goes beyond rational.
That's right.
So, let me ask you about Nino Fidencio. When did you meet him? How things have progressed over the years?
I met him in the spirit.
Oh yeah.
He died in 1938.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that?
I thought it was 1929.
1938
Okay.
is when he died. He was born in 1890. You're hearing it from the master. He was
Okay.
born in 1898 and he died in 1938, just a couple months short of his 40th birthday. And so before he died, he told his people, his followers in Espinazo, he said, I have to go now to the next world, but I'll be back. I'll be with you and I'll come to you. And several of you are going to be able to channel my spirit and I'll continue my teachings, which these are. That's what this is. These are his teachings of the Nino Fidencio. So I never met him in person, but I met him in spirit, in the spirit, for the first time about.
And did you know who you were talking to?
Sure.
Did he
Yeah.
tell you who he was?
Yeah, I asked him. No, I asked him.
Uh-huh.
When you and he told me, and this was about 1980. About 1980.
Okay. And when did you meet Alberto Salinas?
I met Alberto Salinas in Espinazo about 1985 or so, on the streets of Espinazo. He stood out. He was a healthy man, tall man, dressed in white with black boots. He dressed like the Nino Fidencio dressed, and so he was he stood out. And I asked, I don't approach people directly. I go around them.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked people around him who he was and where he was from. And I discovered that he was from Edinburg. Once I believed that I knew enough about him, that's when I introduced myself to him. And we became fast friends. We were very close friends. And I've worked with him since 1985. You can do the math. And he's now, he's feeble. He's not real healthy. It's sad. It saddens me because we've traveled all over. We've traveled to, we did a film in Mexico City. I took him there and other places, and it's sad to see him in bad shape.
He's, I know he's in his 60s. But,
He's 62. He just had a birthday last week.
which is our cameraman.
62. Yeah. Just kids. Start having kids. How old are you?
Oh, I'm a real baby, 61.
I'm 66. Really, I'm an old man. But I hope to stay around for a few more years.
Well,
The way you do that is by being mean.
yeah, you gotta
Gotta be mean, gotta be
hold your
tough.
ground.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's true. But you just never know, too. Everybody I thought was going to kick the bucket, they live forever. The ones that don't, they always take me by surprise. So I'm no predictor on that.
In Spanish, do you speak Spanish? In Spanish, we say, hierba mala nunca muere. The evil weed, the bad weed, doesn't die. That's right.
No, I understand that. So, yeah, and the question occurs to me, too, how do your fellow professors in academia feel about you being involved with this folk spirituality?
I can tell you that they've never really understood it. They've never really understood it. Somehow, very close friends of mine who share my interests, like some of them are no longer with us, but it's mixed. A lot of them like to make fun of it, burlesque it. Maybe don't even think it's serious scholarship.
Right.
But then they sit in their chairs and don't do a goddamn thing. Okay? Excuse my French. I, on the other hand, have a curriculum vitae which is 25 pages long. I continue to publish in English and Spanish, in journals, in refereed journals in Mexico and the United States. And my work is internationally known. Last year I was invited, to give you an example, and you know, I'm not bragging, it's just the reality. Last year I was invited to speak at the Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. And you know, that in Mexico, that's the pinnacle. When you're invited to go there and speak about this, I mean, you've reached the top of your profession, which is not understood in the United States. So you've asked a very insightful question, and the answer, really, the simple answer is it's mixed. The reaction's mixed.
Some are benignly quizzical, and others are actively derisive.
Well, I don't know if they're that bad, but you'd think that someone.
Well, not hostile, but dismissive.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'd think that someone that didn't understand something would keep quiet.
Right.
But fools speak.
Right. Yeah. No, I kind of suspected it might be something like that.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So, yeah, I'd like to close out with a couple more questions about medicinal, border medicinal.
Go for it.
Help. What do you see is the Pharmacopeia is it very extensive, treats almost everything?
Yes.
They have something for everything, right?
Almost everything. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of the Pharmacopeia treats symptoms of primary health care. So if you have a respiratory illness or an upper ear infection or arthritic knees, there's a plant with an active ingredient. This has been proven time and time again. That will take care of you.
Yeah.
Now, to say that they can treat a cancer or something like that, you know, that's stretching.
Right.
But they can treat, but you know, they proved in years ago, 40 years ago when China and other countries did their Barefoot Doctor project, they proved that you could take a person of average intelligence out of a village. Art, listen to this, Art. You could take a person of average intelligence, Art and I have had many conversations, and train them in basic illnesses. Give them a black bag with everything from mercurochrome to antibiotics. Send them back to the village, and that person can treat effectively 85% of all human ailments. So why couldn't a curandero or curandera do it? They're more educated and have more experience. Then 10% have to go into secondary care where you need a specialist. and then the final 5% need, surgery or something. But
And then we go beyond there, of course, into like the faith healing, the belief healing,
are you familiar with the work
spiritual healing.
of Dr. Dawsey? I think his name is Richard Dawsey. He's a physician in Dallas. He's written half a dozen books on the importance of prayer and healing. He's shown through his research, Richard Dawson.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
He's shown clearly that without prayer and without faith, you don't get much healing.
Right.
So if you can combine prayer and faith along with other things, you can get a lot of healing. At the same time that you get a lot of healing, you get a lot of death. Because people, I mean, let's face it, people who have terminal illnesses are going to die. Terminal. But by definition. But medicinal plants and prayer and faith can sustain and maintain people for years beyond what ordinarily you would have thought they'd live. Yeah, there's no question about it.
Right. And in your dealings in Mexico, I imagine not so much along the border because, it would be very iffy for any healer to get into that here. But in Mexico, back in the countryside, they do whatever they want.
That's right. There's no law.
No. They have what do they use? Is it like medicinal marijuana? Do they use that much?
They do, but they use it not in a smoking form. I've not seen that, but they use it in alcohol. They'll put marijuana in alcohol, and it's a very effective.
I've heard tremendous things about that.
It's a very effective treatment for arthritis and rheumatism. Very effective. Okay. I had a mother-in-law once. She's no longer living. I was a student, a graduate student at UT Austin. Came home. Her daughter and I came home one Christmas, and my mother-in-law says, "Can you give me some marijuana?" And I said, "What? And why are you asking me?" She says, "Well, I think you can get it." I said, "Well, and what do you want it for?" And she says, "Well, I need it for my arthritis." And so she got the cure she needed.
Well, I think there's a lot of people, me included, that really have no use for marijuana as recreational.
No, exactly right.
You got an eye problem.
That's right.
Your joints hurting.
That's right.
You're like this.
It's very effective. It's very effective for people with terminal illnesses.
I was talking to a girl that she had this back condition, and what she used marijuana for. And the doctors would give her pills and things that maybe would kind of sort of work, but they would always have horrible side effects.
That's right.
So I said, make sure they don't add anything, no additives.
Doesn't it say in the Bible that God put all the plants on the earth for man's use?
Tell it to the DEA.
The DEA can do what the DEA does. I mean, they're guys and gals doing a job. Trying to do the best they can.
Right. They're agents of the state.
Why don't you ask about peyote?
Okay.
Peyote is, the northernmost range of naturally occurring peyote is over here in Stark County.
Right.
Okay. But then it goes all the way down deep into San Luis Potosí. And I've studied with a lot of healers in that area.
It won't grow as it gets towards the jungle, right?
No, it's in the arid. It's on the sides of hills and mountains in the arid regions of Coahuila, Nuevo León, Tamaulipas, San Luis Potosí, and the healers there use it extensively as a curative. They use it to treat psychosomatic illnesses and other kinds of emotional problems are treated with very light doses of peyote. I've seen it very often.
Right.
Yeah. In the south, like in Oaxaca, is where the so-called magic mushrooms, psilocybin mexicana, grows. And I worked with Maria Sabina. I won't say I worked with her, I met her, and I visited her in her home in Oaxaca before her death, and watched her treat with psilocybin patients who would come, not hippies, okay, because there were plenty of those, but she rejected. They really burned her. They did a job on her, and then became the whole magic mushroom thing. But she used that as a medicinal.
I think I saw a documentary on her.
Yeah,
She was,
that's right.
yeah.
Very much like they use ayahuasca. Ayahuasca doesn't. The active alkaloid ingredient, is that Michael?
Yeah, it's fine.
And Michael, come on in, son. And ayahuasca is the same as similar to peyote.
Does it grow in Mexico?
No, it does not. No, it does not. People will bring it in. They do ayahuasca ceremonies. It's illegal, but they do it in Mexico.
Right.
Mostly for the
the police don't mess with the Indians much because there's no money to be made from
That's
them.
right. They that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, we could talk for a long time, obviously.
Anytime you want to come visit me in Brownsville, or
Well, we might share. You're teaching in Brownsville now,
I
right?
teach at Brownsville, UT Brownsville, which is that's about to change here in the next couple of years. UT Brownsville will go away. UT Pan Am will go away, and there'll be a new university. We don't know what that will be called yet.
Well, I'm sure people will come up with names.
I'm sure they will.
Thank you.